sensed something beyond human.
Have you ever looked up at the sky and suddenly felt your heart tighten? The quiet sky wasn't quiet anymore. It was pouring down huge shadowy shapes, bright flashes tearing through dark clouds, movements that broke every rule we know. That feeling doesn't creep in slowly. It hits you all at once, forcing you to face the growing unease, second by second. All over the world, from one continent to another, reports keep pouring in. Strange objects appear out of nowhere, then vanish. Odd figures show up among the clouds. Wild, fiery trails streak across the sky like they have a mind of their own. The sky we always thought was peaceful is now full of chaos, as if some urgent warning is being sent down to us. Can you feel that worry slipping into your thoughts? 10 phenomena are about to be revealed, each one hitting hard against our indifference, making us lift our heads and really listen. Before we go on, please leave a prayer in the comments below. Just a small way to show faith in the middle of all this confusion. And now, let's get started right away with 1. The figure of the Lord in the sky. The sky at cruising altitude usually feels safe in a cold sort of way, but that moment was different. The light outside the window turned to a heavy gray. The clouds were thicker than normal. And in the long silence, a clear feeling of unease crept in, like we were seeing something that didn't belong on the usual path of a regular flight. From the view of the recorded video, everything looked calm. The plane was steady, engines humming smoothly. But right in the middle of the dark cloud layer, a huge, human-shaped figure suddenly appeared, just hanging there, perfectly still. That shadow was much bigger than any aircraft we know, and it left the passengers behind the camera almost frozen, not from fear of crashing, but from the feeling that they were witnessing something beyond normal explanation. As the footage spread, more details became clear. The shape looked like a giant human body, arms slightly open, standing so calm it was hard to understand, like someone quietly standing in the middle of the sky. No sudden movements, no man-made lights, just a silent but overwhelming presence. In just a few short seconds, the figure slowly faded and melted into the clouds, leaving an empty space that gave people chills, as if a gaze from very high up had just passed over them. These images immediately brought back reports of apparitions recorded in the Philippines, where thousands of people at the same time said they saw the image of Jesus appear in the clouds after crowded masses. The common point wasn't in the exact details, but in the shared feeling, shock, silence, and the belief that this wasn't just some random trick of the eye. Videos from different angles made the staged theory much harder to believe. When people compared this event to the Bible, Matthew 24-30 came up as a symbolic hint. Then the sign of the Son of Man will appear in heaven, and all the peoples of the earth will mourn, and they will see the Son of Man coming on the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. That verse doesn't directly prove what we're seeing, but it gives a reference point that makes the image hard to ignore. In the same way, Revelation 1-7 was mentioned too, adding another layer of meaning. Look, he is coming with the clouds, and every eye will see him, and all the peoples of the earth will mourn because of him. Those words sound like a distant echo, not forcing anything, but strong enough to plant questions about what this figure really means. Even though there are still technical explanations like cloud illusions or video editing, the fact that it showed up on multiple angles at the same time, plus the consistent reactions from viewers, makes it hard to completely dismiss. It just hangs there like a sign, not confirming anything for sure, but also not letting indifference come back. And right in that quiet space, the feeling starts to grow that this might only be the beginning. 2. Giant figure on the country highway. Heavy night rain poured down on the rural highway like a thick curtain. The headlights sliced through the rushing water in tense, frantic streaks. And right in that moment, the feeling of danger no longer came from the slippery road. Sometimes, we think a quiet, empty road means we're safe, until the darkness ahead suddenly turns too thick, too heavy, like it's hiding something, waiting to be revealed. According to the dashcam footage, the car was moving steadily through the storm when the headlights suddenly caught a huge shape standing right at the edge of the road. It wasn't human. It didn't look like any normal animal either. The creature was extremely tall, with an unnaturally stretched body, almost like it was pieced together from patches of shadow. Its glowing yellow eyes caught the light and stared straight at the driver, giving that piercing feeling, like every thought in your head was suddenly laid bare in a split second. This kind of sighting reminds many people of the scattered reports about haunted highways in America, especially the stories around Riverdale Road in Colorado, where shadowy figures often show up in bad weather. The common thread isn't the exact details, it's the state of mind of the people who see it. Heart pounding, hands shaking on the wheel, and a deep fear that has no clear reason, but feels completely real. The thing in this video was the same. It didn't charge. It didn't make a sound. It just stood there, then slowly melted back into the rain, like it had never been there at all. Skeptics say it could just be an illusion from heavy rain, headlights bending through water, or the stress of driving at night. But the dash cam images are fairly clear. The creature's movement doesn't match tree shadows or roadside posts. And that eerie feeling of being seen through that many drivers describe keeps showing up in these cases, making the simple explanations feel less convincing. When people place this sighting next to Bible verses, Luke 21:25 often comes up as a broad warning about spreading chaos. There will be signs in the sun, moon, and stars, and on the earth. Nations will be in anguish and perplexity at the roaring and tossing of the sea. The disorder doesn't only come from nature. It seeps into people's minds when they lose their sense of direction. Revelation 6:12 goes even deeper with its picture of darkness covering the world. When the Lamb opened the sixth seal, I watched as there was a great earthquake. The sun turned black like sackcloth made of goat hair, and the whole moon became like blood. In the cold yellow glow reflecting from those eyes, quite a few people feel a troubling similarity to these descriptions. Even though it's just one lone sighting on a quiet back road, that giant figure leaves a heavy feeling behind. It didn't attack, it didn't chase, but its silent presence alone was enough to plant the sense that darkness doesn't just hang up in the sky anymore, it has stepped down very close. And when you think about the road still ahead, a quiet question creeps in. Is that creature waiting around some bend where the headlights will accidentally catch it again? 3. Black pillar in the sky over Blue Lagoon, Russia. Right in the middle of that heavy gray sky above the Blue Lagoon area, there was this one moment when everything just seemed to freeze. No warning sound, no streak of light racing across, just a huge black shape hanging there in the air. So quiet it felt wrong, like whatever it was didn't belong in our normal everyday sky. From the videos that spread around, the thing looked like a tall, flat slab standing upright, way bigger than any regular flying object we know. Its surface wasn't smooth. It caught the weak light in faint, blurry geometric patterns, almost like something inside was slowly moving. Around it, smaller objects circled in perfect rhythm. No noise, no trails in the air, making the whole scene feel more like a living machine than just some dead piece of metal. In that moment, we weren't only seeing something strange, we could actually feel an invisible weight pressing down on the sky. The location makes it even harder to understand. The area around Blue Lagoon isn't new to ancient stone structures and megaliths in Siberia, places that have old legends about stone pillars used for ceremonies. But this black thing wasn't sitting on the ground. It was floating high up, completely separate from anything solid. A lot of people who watched the video said the first feeling wasn't instant fear. It was more like a deep heaviness, as if the sky was holding onto a secret too big to carry. Online, people quickly split into two sides. Some said it's probably a top-secret military test or some new kind of aircraft we've never heard about. Others were sure it's just really good fake video made to get attention. But then, similar reports started popping up in different conflict zones around the world, thousands of miles apart, with pretty much the same description of the shape and the way it moved. That made the arguments get pretty heated. So when you look at that floating black pillar, which explanation feels more likely to you? When people look at this through the Bible, Joel 2:30 often comes up as a key verse. I will show wonders in the heavens and on the earth, blood and fire and pillars of smoke. The word pillars doesn't just feel like a figure of speech here. It brings to mind tall, solid structures standing there, marking some very unusual moment in history. Then there's Mark 13:25 that adds to the picture with its warning. The stars will fall from the sky, and the powers in the heavens will be shaken. When folks connect those Bible verses with this black monolith hanging in the air, a lot of them start seeing it not as just one weird thing, but as some kind of marker, like the sky is quietly putting down invisible milestones for whatever comes next. Whether you explain it with science or with spiritual meaning, that black shape still sits there in people's minds like a quiet warning. It doesn't attack, it doesn't send any signal, but just having it there is enough to leave us with a much scarier question than its shape. If these pillars aren't only showing up in one place, if they keep appearing in more and more spots, how much open sky will we have left before we face something we can't avoid? 4. A flock of birds flies together, forming a mysterious dark shape. Up in the sky, a dark mass slowly appears. It has no clear edges, no solid point to hold on to, almost like it doesn't belong to the familiar sky we see every day. Have you ever looked up and felt like something was quietly watching from above? What happens next makes the air feel strangely heavy and tight. From different directions, more black flocks show up, swirling around the dark shape as if pulled by an invisible current. They rush in, then suddenly spread out, changing direction over and over. It feels like the sky itself is pulsing to some strange rhythm. The dark center never stays still. It swells up like thick smoke one moment, then shrinks back like it's breathing, making the line between the birds and the darkness blurry. This reminds people of those murmurations recorded over Rome, Italy, where thousands of starlings come together into huge black patterns that block the sun for a moment. But this time feels very different. The birds aren't just making shapes. They seem to be reacting to something you can't see. Light gets blocked bit by bit. The wide sky suddenly feels low and heavy, and anyone standing below starts feeling like the air is slowly being sucked away. The questions grow when many videos show the birds aren't following their normal survival patterns. At times, the whole flock suddenly panics, as if terrified by an unseen force, then comes right back to circle the changing dark shape. Some people say it's just a complicated natural event, wind, air pressure, or magnetic fields, but the way the birds both move toward it and try to stay away makes that explanation feel a little weak. Luke 21:25. Once warned, there will be signs in the sun, moon, and stars. On the earth, nations will be in anguish and perplexity at the roaring and tossing of the sea. When darkness covers the light and the natural order feels shaken, those Bible words sound like a hint that changes in the sky mean more than just physical things. Revelation 8:12 goes further, describing the light being struck down. The fourth angel sounded his trumpet, and a third of the sun was struck, a third of the moon, and a third of the stars, so that a third of them turned dark. Looking at it that way, this dark shape and the swirling birds aren't just a rare sight. It feels more like a message sent through nature itself. When the light gets covered and the creatures of the sky react in panic, it could be a reminder that darkness isn't only out there, it's also growing somewhere inside humanity. And if one day that dark mass stops being just a blurry shape, will our familiar sky still be able to hold its own boundaries? 5. Strange phenomenon in the Florida sky. Florida's sky suddenly turned wild and overwhelming when a huge ring of light burst out right in the middle of the air, so bright it covered the whole night sky. The light didn't spread out evenly. It swirled into one perfect circle, looking almost like a giant door had opened, and then just stayed that way for a few unbelievable moments. What made it so strange was that this ring didn't look like lightning, didn't look like flares, and didn't follow any normal weather pattern anyone had ever recorded. Right after, a bunch of glowing orbs appeared. They flew around the circle in every direction, then started lining up, one after another, moving straight into the center of the light and vanishing. Down on the ground, lots of electronics went haywire, phones flickering, car systems throwing errors all at once, making the already crazy scene even more confusing. Similar things had been reported before in Palm Coast, where people talked about ring lightning and light orbs possibly connected to some unknown energy source, leading to theories about different dimensions crossing over. What would you think if the sky above you suddenly started messing with everything normal around you? Skepticism spread quickly, as scientists and everyday people offered different explanations. Some thought it was probably an aerial test, maybe advanced aviation tech or directed energy. But that idea got pushed back hard because there was no official announcement, and the electronic problems went way beyond any normal test range. Reports of orbs rising up out of the Florida Ocean made the story even more mysterious, since they seemed to come from the sea itself, not just the sky. Acts 2:19 kept coming up as a possible key. I will show wonders in the heavens above and signs on the earth below, blood, fire, and smoke rising. When the light appeared at the same time as trouble down here, that verse made people think these things aren't separate. They're signs happening together between heaven and earth. Matthew 24-29 puts it in an even bigger picture. Right after the distress of those days, the sun will be darkened. The moon will not give its light. The stars will fall from the sky, and the heavenly bodies will be shaken. After that, the arguments got really heated. One side says the ring of light and orbs are proof of new technology or an extremely rare natural event that needs serious study before anyone jumps to conclusions. The other side believes it's a warning sign when the normal order of the sky gets disturbed in a way we've never seen before. Both views exist side by side, showing how people try hard to make sense of things when everything feels chaotic. No matter which way you look at it, this event over Florida still leaves one big question hanging. If those rings of light aren't just light, if they're actually signals of a gate that's just been cracked open, then what exactly is waiting on the other side, and will the sky ever stay quiet like it used to? 6. Mysterious black objects hovering in the sky. No sound, no clear movement, just a piece of empty space taken over by strange shapes that make your normal feeling of safety disappear. Even when the sunlight is still bright and strong, the whole scene feels heavy, almost suffocating, and one question has to come up. If the sky isn't quiet anymore, then who's up there watching you? The first reports say these things are about the size of small birds, grouped closely together in a tight cluster, keeping perfect even spacing in a way that feels suspicious. They don't fly, they don't drift, and they don't get pushed by the wind. They just hang completely still for many minutes. In some similar sightings reported around Seattle, streetlights flickered strangely, and a lot of people said they felt watched, even though they couldn't tell where it was coming from. Daylight is supposed to be the time when everything is clear, but that's exactly why these dark shapes feel so hard to accept. When people looked closer, some noticed faint flashing lights coming from the objects, almost like they were talking to each other in their own slow rhythm. That perfect coordination didn't look like a flock of birds, and it didn't match regular civilian or military drones either. No propeller noise, no little adjustments in position, just an unnatural stillness in midair. The tension really builds when the whole dark cluster suddenly holds its shape for a while, then breaks apart and vanishes so fast it leaves a cold, empty feeling in the sky. Right away, people started arguing about what they could be. Some said maybe new high-tech drones, but that idea has big problems when you think about how long they stayed perfectly still and how precise the control would have to be, way beyond normal remote operation. Reports of similar mysterious black objects in West Michigan make it feel like this isn't a one-time thing. It's a pattern happening in different places. Luke 21:11 gets mentioned as a straight-up warning. There will be great signs from heaven. That Bible verse puts the focus right on the sky as the source of strange signals. It doesn't need a long explanation. It just quietly wakes up a deep fear inside. Revelation 6:13 goes even further. The stars in the sky fell to the earth, like figs shaken from a tree by a strong wind when they're not ripe yet. It paints a picture of things coming down from above, breaking the normal order. From a warning point of view, these hovering black shapes aren't just a science puzzle. They're a sign of silent watching. When the bright daytime sky can still hide something creepy, the message comes through louder than ever. The normal order is being tested, and judgment might come without any noise. If those dark dots didn't really disappear, if they just moved to another spot, how sure are we that they're not up there right now, quietly looking down? 7. Strange cloud over the sky in Haiti. That appearance brought a mysterious, doubtful feeling, like something had just slipped into our familiar reality without any clear explanation. In the middle of the swirling space, an unusual round cloud formed, and right next to it, a faint glowing object quietly drifted along. The moment those two things sat side by side gave the impression of a pair that shouldn't exist, shaking up normal thinking. The strange object didn't break away from the cloud. It didn't cut through or pass over it either. It just stayed at a fixed distance, almost like it was being protected. The cloud kept changing shape, stretching out, then tightening again. But the object matched every single movement perfectly. In those moments, you could really feel that floating question without an answer, as if someone was hiding behind a living disguise. In Haiti, Similar sightings have shown up many times in videos spreading online. Local people say they often see these swirling cloud pairs appear together, then quickly disappear after the faint glowing object moves away. Unlike regular weather patterns, these clouds seem to reshape themselves following the object's motion, creating a shared rhythm that's hard to explain with normal weather science. The feeling it leaves behind isn't instant fear. It's a slow, quiet doubt that lingers. Lots of theories have been offered to calm the unease. Some say it's just smoke, light reflection, or a camera angle trick. But the almost perfect matching between the cloud and the object makes those explanations feel pretty weak. Different recordings from different angles all show the same side-by-side movement, as if the two things share the same will. Matthew 24-30 gets mentioned as a meaningful hint. Then the sign of the Son of Man will appear in heaven, and all the tribes of the earth will mourn. And they will see the Son of Man coming on the clouds of heaven with power and great glory. This Bible verse doesn't directly explain the sighting, but it opens a way of thinking where clouds aren't just natural. They can also be a covering for something holy. Revelation 1-7 adds to that picture. Look, he is coming with the clouds, and every eye will see him. From that view, the cloud stops being just background in the sky. It becomes a curtain hiding silent messengers. The way this strange object travels together with the swirling cloud can feel like a gentle but persistent signal, a reminder that there are eyes watching quietly, without showing themselves. And if a cloud can protect something that doesn't yet have a name, then maybe those floating shapes up there aren't just rare events. Maybe they're quiet companions still watching every move of the world below. 8. Fallen angel touches the earth. A winged figure streaks across the sky. Too clear to be a hallucination. Too strange to just shrug off. That moment carries the weight of a rough warning. It forces every eye to stop and stare, because the first feeling isn't wonder, it's a cold shiver. The footage that came after shows violent, yet strangely blurry motion, almost hard to believe. The thing has a human-like shape, with wide wings that don't look soft like feathers. They're sharp-edged, metallic, and torn in places. It flies with a smooth, almost graceful rhythm, nearly beautiful, but that very smoothness feels unsettling. The shadow of those wings sweeps clearly across everything below, nothing like a fake effect, making it tough for anyone watching to look away without wondering what in the world they're really seeing. Similar reports have popped up here and there, some in Texas, others in far-off parts of Russia, where people described winged beings gliding past for just a few seconds before disappearing. The worrying details that keep repeating are the wing structure and the deliberate way it moves. Not wild like a bird, not stiff like a drone. The overall feeling isn't protective. It feels more like something that fell long ago, but still has enough power left to show itself. Revelation 12-7 gets brought up like an echo from long ago. Then war broke out in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon and his angels fought back. That verse puts the sighting into a fierce battle context, where winged beings no longer stand for peace, but mark an unfinished war. Then Luke 10:18 adds the falling image. He replied, "I saw Satan fall like lightning from heaven." Of course, the internet quickly split into two loud camps. One side says it's just really good CGI, someone's imagination, plus fancy editing software. The other side points out that the clips come from different people, different cameras, different lighting and angles, which makes a coordinated hoax pretty hard to pull off. Both sides have their arguments, and so far, nobody's come up with proof strong enough to end the argument. Still, the real thing to pay attention to isn't what we decide to call this creature. It's the message it quietly brings. Not everything that comes down from above means salvation. Some shadows only show up to remind us that a fall leaves marks behind. And if a winged being still has the strength to glide through our world today, what's the real purpose of that flight? And who's next on its watch list? 9. Mysterious glowing orb twists across the Kenyan sky. The light rips through the night in a split second. So fast your eyes can't catch up before the whole sky gets flooded with a fierce white-gold color. A fireball explodes into view, not crashing straight down like the meteors we usually see, but making sharp turns, changing direction quickly like it's deciding its own path. The shock hits you instantly, because this isn't some random flash. It feels like a bold, on-purpose, visual punch. The fireball moves in a clear zigzag, speeding up then slowing down, leaving behind a long, glowing trail like hot, melted metal. The light doesn't fade right away. It hangs there for a few seconds before disappearing, long enough that you really notice it's there. In that moment, it's hard not to feel that the movement isn't blind. It almost seems to react to the people watching down below. In Kenya, many witnesses said they just froze when they saw it. People who didn't know each other all described the same thing. This fireball didn't fall, didn't break up, didn't slowly fade like a normal meteor. Some compared it to fireballs seen in the US, but they admitted they'd never seen anything move with such obvious steering. The golden trail it left stretched hundreds of feet, so bright it blocked out the stars nearby. The strangeness quickly started a lot of debate. Some people say it was just a rare meteor bent by different layers of air. But the reports show the zigzag kept happening again and again, not one smooth curve like something being pushed by wind resistance. A few accounts also mention a light shaking in the ground, not strong enough to call an earthquake, but enough to make you wonder what kind of power was behind it. Joel 2:30 gets brought up as a straight warning. I will show wonders in the heavens and on the earth, blood, fire, and pillars of smoke. Fire appearing wild and powerful, full of threat. That picture fits this event perfectly. Mark 13:24 goes on. But in those days, after that tribulation, the sun will be darkened, and the moon will not give its light. In this case, fire from the sky isn't beautiful nature anymore. It's a sign of big, serious change. Looking at it as a warning, this zigzagging fireball in Kenya isn't just a strange sky event. It feels more like a sign sent on purpose, a reminder that the usual rules are being shaken. If fire can change direction and choose its own path, the question still hanging is, what is it searching for? And is the next place it stops closer than we think? 10. The sun was flickering strangely at Imperial Beach, California. Down at Imperial Beach, a lot of folks just froze, not sure what was going on. In that moment, you could really feel the doubt creeping in when the one thing we all count on every day suddenly started acting like some kind of warning light. The sun wasn't exploding or turning crazy colors. It was just pulsing, steady on and off, flashes of light and dark, like a huge machine having some kind of hiccup. The whole thing lasted long enough for people to get good video, clear enough that you couldn't brush it off as a quick trick of the eye. You can hear people whispering in Spanish in those clips, a mix of "this can't be real" and quiet fear, because everyone knew it wasn't the camera messing up or some filter on the lens. Pretty soon, similar stories started popping up from other places around the world. In a little town in Belgium, some cyclists said they saw the skylight doing the same weird pulsing halo thing, not following its normal rhythm. The one thing all these reports had in common? No big weather event, no thick clouds, no solar storm, nothing normal in the atmosphere that could explain why the sun was acting up like that. For now, science doesn't really have a solid answer, and that silence feels kind of heavy. People started bringing up Luke 21:25 as a serious warning. There will be signs in the sun, moon, and stars, and on the earth, nations will be in anguish and perplexity. When the main light that keeps everything alive starts acting strange, that worry isn't just a nice Bible story anymore. It's something people are feeling right then and there. Then Revelation 6:12 paints an even stronger picture. The sun became black like sackcloth made of goat hair, and the whole moon became red as blood. That's not a gentle hint, it's the announcement of judgment. Matthew 24:29 puts the final piece in place with very clear words. Immediately after the distress of those days, the sun will be darkened, and the moon will not give its light. When you see this flickering sun in that light, it stops being just a star in the sky. It becomes the last big sign that the whole order of things is about to change. That little malfunction feels like a quiet but cold message. Even the things we think will last forever are still under God's authority. This isn't about trying to scare people. The point is to make us stop, really stop, and think a little deeper. If the light that guides all life can start to flicker, then the only thing we can truly hold on to is faith. Faith that goes beyond everything we can see and measure. And the next time you look up at the sun, will it just be the same old familiar star? Or will you hear that soft reminder calling the world back to a brighter, more holy light? In the middle of these hard-to-understand signs, maybe leave a simple prayer for the world, asking God for protection and guidance. Because when even the daylight hesitates, faith might be the last steady thing we have left. Here are 10 signs that have come one after another, like 10 knocks on the door of our awareness. From strange things happening in the sky to events that go beyond what science usually explains. When you put them side by side, a bigger picture starts to come into view. They're not separate anymore. They flow together as one clear wake-up call. Unusual solar eclipses, strange lights people call UFOs, and natural changes that are hard to understand, they all remind us of the old descriptions of the last days, when heaven and earth shake before a major turning point. Luke 21:11 puts it plainly. There will be great earthquakes, famines, and pestilences in various places, and fearful events and great signs from heaven. When we look at these 10 signs in that light, they stop being just interesting news. They become ringing bells, calling us to wake up. Even the things some call alien technology or rare phenomena can be seen as reminders that the sky has never been completely silent. Matthew 24:24 goes further and shows the serious side. For false messiahs and false prophets will appear and perform great signs and wonders to deceive, if possible, even the elect. In times like these, the real danger isn't just the events themselves. It's how easily people brush them off. When the signs are taken lightly or quickly explained away, the chance to return to true faith quietly slips away. Revelation 3:3 gives a strong, no-nonsense reminder. Remember, therefore, what you have received and heard. Hold it fast and repent. This isn't a threat. It's a door that is still open for turning back. Between fear and that thin ray of hope, the choice is still in each person's hands, to listen or to keep turning away from what's being shown. Right now, the biggest risk might be staying numb and indifferent. Instead of scrolling past like it's just another shocking story, take a quiet moment. Think about it. Ask yourself where you stand in all of this. If you feel that gentle pull in your heart, coming back to faith isn't going backward. It's finding solid ground for the days ahead. Feel free to leave a prayer for the world in the comments, or share your honest thoughts as a way to connect with others who are waking up. Liking, sharing, or subscribing helps make sure no one misses the next sign that comes. A heartfelt thank you to everyone who stayed with me to the end. May God's peace always be with you and your family in His loving arms. Amen.
That's unreal. Like it's carved.
Do you feel like time is speeding up somehow? When the sky suddenly changes its tune and the earth can't hold its quiet anymore? All around, strange events are piling up fast, pushing the world into chaos and planting worry about a foggy tomorrow. Those old prophecies about roaring seas, shaking skies, and panicked hearts seem to be coming true right before our eyes. From huge waves crashing the shores, weird lights ripping through the night, clouds twisting into odd shapes, rings of fire spinning, trumpet-like sounds echoing, eyes appearing up high, beams of light curling around, chilling noises, the sky turning blood red or shrinking into strange blue hues. Every sign is waking up at once. Can you really believe this is all just coincidence? Or do you sense an invisible hand pushing things along? Don't scroll past too quick, because each odd sign is like an urgent reminder straight to your conscience. Leave a simple prayer for peace. Before the story unfolds, more things nobody can predict. And now, so you don't have to wait long, we'll get started right away with 1. Unusually big waves strong enough to smash up the boats parked nearby. The Sea of Marmara wasn't its usual calm self anymore. All of a sudden, the water stood straight up like something ripped it open from underneath. Huge black waves came crashing straight into the shore with terrifying force. You didn't need anyone to tell you. Your heart just sank watching it, like nature had changed its mind and wasn't in the mood to be kind to people anymore. The sounds of wind, water, and metal banging together mixed into pure chaos that made the whole waterfront feel suffocating. Down at the Tuzla coast, a busy stretch of shoreline in Istanbul where hundreds of boats usually sit tied up just fine, everything got turned upside down in seconds. The Lodos wind, already strong, shot up to around 60 miles an hour, howling without stopping. Waves reaching 15 feet kept rising one after another, slamming right into the seawall and the docks. tossing the little speedboats around like toys being thrown every which way. Seawater flooded over the walkways, swallowing the roads, sweeping away crates, mooring lines, and broken pieces of wood. People along the shore ran in panic, their shouts getting lost in the wind and the loud crashes of the waves. Awnings got ripped apart, boat hulls tilted wildly, and in just a few minutes, the whole area felt like it had been hit by sudden fury. That feeling of nature being out of control spread fast, leaving a quiet fear that hadn't settled yet. Right in the middle of all that, an old warning seemed to come alive again. Luke 21:25 says it plain. There will be signs in the sun, moon, and stars. On the earth, nations will be in anguish and perplexity at the roaring and tossing of the sea. Those words weren't just sitting on a page anymore. They were happening right there, with every roaring wave out in the water. A lot of folks tried to calm themselves by saying it was just an odd storm, the kind of thing we get now from climate change. But when you look at all these strange events piling up in different places, that explanation starts feeling pretty thin. Science can explain air pressure and wind, but it doesn't say why everything's hitting at once with such strength, like something bigger is being pushed along. Revelation 16:3 talks about a sight that makes anybody stop cold. The second angel poured out his bowl on the sea, and it turned into blood like that of a dead person. And every living thing in the sea died. Things haven't gotten that far yet, but the ocean's anger today feels like the first signal that the usual order is getting shaken. Those waves in Tuzla didn't just cause physical damage, they left people with a deep sense of being warned. The sea is speaking up, and the message doesn't feel random. But that's only the beginning, because even before the water had a chance to calm down, the night sky was getting ready to light up with something unusual that still needs to be told. 2. The night sky suddenly lit up with a mysterious blue glow as a ball of light streaked across it. Just as the darkness settled in, a bright blue streak ripped through the night, so fast that all the sounds around seemed to vanish. In just a few seconds, the sky changed color. A cold light poured down, and everything felt frozen. It was like watching a video that makes your hands shake a little, because what you saw was too strange to process right away. In the middle of a busy city, where streetlights usually drown out the stars, dozens of phones shot up at once. This blue ball of light raced across the sky, leaving behind a long, glowing trail that stretched for miles, then disappeared as quickly as it came. You didn't need anyone to tell you. Your heart was pounding, because it wasn't like fireworks or anything familiar you'd seen before. The blue light didn't flicker on and off. It spread like a wave, covering rooftops, windows, and the streets below. Some videos showed the ball moving at a speed that's hard to track, suddenly changing direction and vanishing, leaving a heavy silence behind. People slowed the footage, zoomed in, and shared it non-stop, but the closer you looked, the fuzzier the details got, as if the light didn't want to be figured out. In that stunned moment, people started whispering ideas. Some called it a rare green meteor. Others thought it might be a test flight of some kind. But a few believers felt that brief flash had the feel of an angel passing overhead, quick, bright, and leaving no trace. When you put yourself in the shoes of someone watching on their screen, the question wasn't just, what was that? But why did it show up right now? Matthew 24:27 puts it in a haunting way. For as lightning that comes from the east is visible even in the west, so will be the coming of the Son of Man. That blue flash, gone in an instant, and nobody daring to name it, felt like the kind of sign that gets your attention, short but impossible to ignore on a quiet night sky. Skeptics were quick to say drone or some man-made light show, but the cold color and the way it spread didn't match any common gadget. Videos from different angles all showed the same thing, the same streak, like the sky was putting on a silent message. That kind of matchup made the quick explanations feel weak. Revelation 8:5 talks about the start of something bigger. Then the angel took the censer, filled it with fire from the altar, and hurled it on the earth. And there came peals of thunder, rumblings, flashes of lightning, and an earthquake. That blue light didn't come with thunder, but it was enough to plant the feeling that a door had just cracked open. Nobody's ready to say for sure what that ball of light really was, but its appearance shattered the usual comfort of the night. When the blue glow faded, the sky went back to its old dark color, but the calm didn't return. Because right after, from the gray clouds quietly gathering, something else unusual seemed ready to show itself. 3. A strange cloud with angel wings. The midday sky suddenly slowed down, like time was holding its breath, waiting for something to appear. Sunlight fell on the high clouds, gentle but sharp, giving the whole scene a quiet peace you don't see often. Have you ever stood still under the sky and felt something there that's hard to explain? Over a big stretch of sky in Texas, thousands of people looked up at once as a huge shape started to form. It wasn't just some scattered clouds drifting by. It was an orderly shape, spreading out like two big wings open wide in the air. The iridescence caught the light and made shimmering streaks, so the cloud layers looked like overlapping feathers, stretching for miles. A lot of folks pulled over on the road, got out quietly, and just gazed up. The photos that spread afterward showed soft curves, perfect symmetry, light and shadow blending together, giving a feeling that's both familiar and otherworldly. Sure, we can explain it with atmospheric science, but the emotion that moment brought goes beyond dry facts. Psalm 91:4 says, "He will cover you with his feathers, and under his wings you will find refuge." When you put those words next to the image of clouds spreading wide, many people feel it's a symbol of protection, quiet but all-encompassing, like a gentle reminder in the vast sky. But online, opinions quickly split. Some say it's just a rare mix of light and ice crystals up high, nothing more. Others push back, sharing comparisons, analyzing proportions, even quoting Bible verses to argue it's a sign of angel wings. Which side do you lean toward when faced with arguments like that? Revelation 14:6 tells of, "Then I saw another angel flying in midair, with the eternal gospel to proclaim to those who live on the earth, to every nation, tribe, language, and people." It doesn't describe the shape in detail, but it suggests a messenger appearing in the sky, bringing a message for all humanity. Putting it all together, from the visual wonder to the inner feeling, many believe that presence wasn't meant to scare, but to wake us up. Those wings in the sky, whether cloud or symbol, still raise a question about what's coming and how ready we each are. And as the clouds slowly faded, the sunlight returned to normal. The sky seemed like it hadn't quite finished saying what it wanted. Far off, another glow was starting to form, as if the story up there wasn't over yet. 4. A strange ring of fire in the sky. The gray sky suddenly tore open with a bright, perfectly round glow, sharp as a knife edge. No smoke rose up, no flames fell down, just a red-orange ring of light spinning slowly among the heavy clouds, making everything feel frozen for a moment. The first feeling wasn't wonder. It was a jolt straight to the core. This sight appeared over wide areas of the sky, much like the ring-shaped solar eclipses recorded in Argentina or several states in the US. The ring stretched for miles across, hanging in the air with an edge so even it was hard to believe. From far away, it looked like a gateway opening, orderly yet fierce, defying any familiar name. Revelation 8:7 says, "The first angel sounded his trumpet, and there came hail and fire mixed with blood, and they were hurled down on the earth. A third of the earth was burned up, a third of the trees were burned up, and all the green grass was burned up." When you set those words beside the image of a ring of fire up high, many folks sense a chilling link between the symbol and what's real, as if the fire has been lifted to the heavens before touching the ground. From reports, the ring didn't stay still, but turned slowly, its brightness shifting minute by minute. Witnesses described an eerie feeling. The light gave off no heat, cast no smoky shadows, yet it had real depth and clear motion. Would you call that moment a rare natural event, or a sign beyond what our eyes are used to seeing? Ezekiel 1-4 records. "I looked, and I saw a windstorm coming out of the north, an immense cloud with flashing lightning and surrounded by brilliant light. The center of the fire looked like glowing metal." The phrases "flashing lightning" and "brilliant light" paint a scene that's not purely physical, but like divine power revealing itself through the clouds. Of course, doubts came quickly. Some said it was just an optical illusion from a rare alignment of the sun, moon, and earth. Still, many wondered about the spinning motion and the unusually sharp edge, details that current explanations haven't fully settled. As the ring of fire faded away, the sky returned to its old gray, but the sense of warning lingered. Fire from the heavens, whether seen as symbol or something real, still carries a message of cleansing and judgment, drawing closer than ever. And just as the last light vanished, The horizon out at sea suddenly stirred, as if from deep below, a massive metallic sound was about to ring out. 5. A trumpet glowing in the sky. Down by the coast, against a heavy gray sky, a cloud suddenly started swirling and stretching out, forming a shape that looked exactly like a giant trumpet. The wide bell end was glowing bright, almost like it was pointing straight down at the churning ocean below. This happened along the shoreline, kind of like those vortex clouds that have shown up before in Houston. The swirling column rose hundreds of feet high, pulling water vapor up from the sea into the air, creating a perfect, almost scary spiral. The light reflecting inside made the whole thing look like it was lit up from within, standing out sharply against the dark sky around it. The cloud didn't move wildly like a regular tornado. Instead, it had a steady, repeating rhythm, almost like some kind of ritual was taking place. The water vapor rose in layers, spinning around the center, giving the feeling that an invisible sound was being drawn upward. When you see something like that, you have to wonder, is this just a rare weather event, or is it something with deeper meaning? Revelation 8-6 says, "The 7 angels who had the 7 trumpets prepared to sound them." When people put that Bible verse next to the picture of this trumpet forming in the sky, a lot of folks start thinking about the sequence that was described so long ago, one where the sound isn't just noise, but a marker for things that can't be undone. Many Christians are warning that the first trumpet may have already sounded, not with actual noise, but with an image. From that point of view, a glowing trumpet in the sky doesn't need to make a sound to shake people up. It's enough to act as a signal that forces you to pay attention, whether you want to or not. Revelation 11:15 goes on to say, "The 7th angel sounded his trumpet, and there were loud voices in heaven which said, 'The kingdom of the world has become the kingdom of our Lord and of his Messiah.'" In the Bible, the trumpets never happen by chance. Each one is tied to a shift in power and order. Of course, the scientific explanations came quick, people saying it's just a rare funnel cloud that happened to take an unusual shape. Even so, a lot of folks can't shake the feeling of how perfect it looked, how balanced the proportions were, and how on purpose the whole thing seemed. As the cloud slowly broke apart and the light faded, the sky went back to normal. But that sense of being warned stayed behind. If a trumpet has already appeared, whatever it's announcing probably isn't over yet. And from behind the clouds that just closed up, it feels like an unseen gaze is still watching, quiet and unrelenting. 6. Judging eyes in the sky. The air stood still, like it was frozen solid, and in that moment, you could feel plain as day that something was watching from way up high, way far off, but close enough to give you chills. The light started gathering in the middle of the wide open sky, slow and heavy, not letting anyone look away or ignore it. In a public area, something like what's been recorded before in Alamogordo, the spots of light didn't scatter, but slowly connected into a clear shape. Out in the vast emptiness, 2 matching glows appeared side by side, forming a huge pair of eyes, hanging there like they didn't belong to this world. The crowd down below gradually went quiet, not from sudden fear, but from that feeling of being seen right through. Those eyes didn't move around wildly. The gaze was serious and steady, like it was checking every bit of space below. The edges glowed a deep red, like hot coals being fanned, while the centers shone bright and cold, never blinking, never shifting. People who saw it said that just looking up made their chest feel heavy, as if every private thought had nowhere left to hide. Psalm 11:4 was written a long time ago. "The Lord is in his holy temple. The Lord is on his throne in heaven. His eyes watch. His eyelids test the children of man." When you put those words next to the picture of eyes appearing in the open air, a lot of folks started seeing the event as more than just lights or an illusion. Reports say the shape lasted long enough for thousands of people to capture it, but not long enough for anyone to get used to that feeling of being examined. The light didn't spread out or flicker. It stayed at the same strength, like a gaze with real purpose. We usually think the sky is just empty and unaware, but that moment made that idea feel shaky. Revelation 1:14 describes, "His head and hair were white like wool, as white as snow, and his eyes were like blazing fire." The image of eyes like fire isn't just about how they look, but a symbol of judgment, where no word or action can stay hidden. Some tried to explain it as light mixing with clouds and the angle of view, but the perfect symmetry and the shared feeling from the whole crowd made that explanation seem weak. No one heard any sound, but everyone knew it wasn't some harmless sight. As the eyes slowly faded and the sky went back to its usual empty look, that sense of being watched didn't go away. The gaze seemed to just close for a while, not leave. And as night started falling, another shape began to move, twisting slowly like a living rope, showing that the eerie feeling wasn't over yet. 7. A strange winding rope in the sky. Night falls over a quiet country road, with just a few scattered lights that can't quite chase away the hazy feeling in the air. In that still darkness, a bluish glow appears, not dropping or fading away, but hanging there like it's waiting to be noticed. You stand there and realize the sky doesn't feel like its usual silent backdrop anymore. Out on that rural road, similar to sightings reported near lakes or in Raleigh, the glow stretches for miles, twisting slowly like a living rope. It doesn't shoot across like a meteor, and it doesn't stay put like a signal light. Instead, it moves with a rhythm, coiling up at times and stretching out at others, giving a sense of drawn-out tension. The slow motion makes time seem stretched, forcing anyone watching to follow every second. That glowing rope twists in the air, its cool blue light spreading over the scene below. Each time it bends, the glow gets brighter, like invisible links sliding past each other. You can clearly see it moving on its own, not affected by wind or clouds, making familiar explanations feel awkward. Revelation 22:1-2 describes a symbolic scene. And I saw an angel come down from heaven, having the key of the bottomless pit and a great chain in his hand. And he laid hold on the dragon, that old serpent, which is the devil, and Satan, and bound him 1,000 years. When you put this Bible passage next to the image of the winding rope, many folks can't help but think of those moving chains. On social media, arguments heat up fast. Some believe it's just a rare light phenomenon. Others say it's an experimental aircraft. But plenty insist the shape has a deeper symbolic meaning. What do you lean toward when you see something moving in a way that doesn't follow the usual rules of the sky? Genesis 3:1 recalls the ancient image. Now the serpent was more subtle than any beast of the field which the Lord God had made. The similarity between the serpent and this glowing rope leads many to believe it's not just mindless light, but a sign of some unseen force stirring. Doubts that it was just streetlights reflecting get shot down quickly, since the rope moved independently, kept changing shape without repeating a path. Videos show it lasting long enough for several people to capture it, then vanishing like it was never there. When the sky goes back to being empty, that uneasy feeling lingers. The rope leaves no trace, but the meaning it suggests hasn't closed yet. And in the quiet that follows, another object starts hovering with a heavy sound, signaling that this string of events is still going on. 8. A strange object and weird sounds in the sky. Without any warning, the sky over the neighborhood suddenly changed color, like something had just been pulled up out of the dark night. Through the hazy smoke, a round object appeared, hanging still in the air before slowly turning, giving off a low, rumbling sound that made everything feel heavy and thick. You could almost feel the whole city hold its breath in that moment. The chaos spread fast as the strange noise echoed down through the rows of houses, carrying for miles, like those skyquakes that have been reported in places like California or Florida. The object gave off a dim glow, not blinding, but enough to outline a warped circle against the sky, moving slowly, like it was checking out the ground below. We watched people rush out to their balconies, stop their cars in the middle of the road, and stare up in quiet panic. The groaning sound went on, sometimes low, sometimes higher. Nothing like a plane engine or regular thunder. It pressed on your chest, making you feel trapped in some dark corner with no way out. You stand there and realize the fear isn't really from the shape of the thing, it's from that sound coming from somewhere deep and far away, beyond what we normally understand. Joel 2:1 rings out like a wake-up call. Blow the trumpet in Zion, sound the alarm on my holy hill. Let all who live in the land tremble, for the day of the Lord is coming. It is close at hand. When you put those words next to the chaos unfolding, a lot of folks can't see it as just some random coincidence anymore. The object kept hovering, the sound getting more intense, making any plain technical explanations feel out of place. It wasn't a plane, wasn't some everyday gadget, because the frequency and rhythm of that groan didn't match anything familiar. We could feel the unease building, like the sky was cracking open layer by layer, Revelation 9:1 paints a chilling picture. The fifth angel sounded his trumpet, and I saw a star that had fallen from the sky to the earth. The star was given the key to the shaft of the abyss. Those words make many believe these sounds aren't just meant to scare. They're signals that big events are being unlocked. As the object faded away and the sound suddenly stopped, the silence left behind was even scarier than the noise. Nobody could be sure what had just happened, but that feeling of being watched still hung in the air. And right after, the sky started turning a deep, heavy red, like another door had just cracked open. 9. The night sky turned a deep blood red. The whole city seemed swallowed by a thick red haze as night fell, with familiar lights vanishing in just minutes. Up above, the sky lost its usual deep black and shifted to a heavy, clotted red, like thick blood. It was so overwhelming that many folks just stood there frozen, caught off guard by the sudden change in something so everyday. In places like Shanxi and Zhoushan, the red spread for dozens of miles, covering the horizon completely. It wasn't a sunset, and it wasn't city lights reflecting. It was this strange red that took over everything. The streets glowed with an eerie light. Buildings lost their sharp edges, turning into dark shapes against the red backdrop, making everything feel oppressive. That red hung around, not fading over time, and it stirred up a deep unease in every corner. People quietly recorded it on their phones in tense silence, and you could sense the fear creeping in as the sky, something we count on as steady and forever, suddenly felt alien. The red glow covered everything, like a silent warning. Many brought up Revelation 6:12 as the images spread. I watched as the Lamb broke the sixth seal. There was a great earthquake. The sun turned black like sackcloth made of goat hair. The whole moon turned blood red. Those Bible words hit like a wake-up call, holding the world accountable for what it's done. On social media, debates flared up fast. Some said it came from fine dust, industrial light bouncing around, or weird weather conditions, while others figured science was just trying to explain something beyond our control. Arguments stayed pretty neutral, but the underlying worry was hard to hide. Joel 2:31 got quoted too, like a direct challenge. The sun will be turned to darkness and the moon to blood before the coming of the great and dreadful day of the Lord. Seeing that verse next to pictures of the blood-red sky made folks realize the message wasn't some distant symbol anymore. It was hitting close to home. That red didn't just change the sky, it shook the sense of safety built up over generations. It lingered there, quiet but overpowering, like a reminder that the world isn't blameless for what's happening. This wasn't a vague warning anymore. It was facing the consequences head-on. As the red finally started to pull back, revealing odd patches of darkness, the heavy feeling didn't lift right away. And right then, a strange green tint quietly slipped into the distant clouds, hinting that the signs weren't over yet. 10. Mysterious blue light in the sky. The atmosphere opened up gently, cool and still like a windless night, when thick gray clouds drifted slowly overhead, and a strange blue glow suddenly flashed from deep inside them. The light didn't burst out or make any noise. It just quietly appeared, then pulled back in, as if listening to the breathing of the world. In that moment, did you feel your heart sink a little, seeing the sky no longer look familiar like it used to? This phenomenon has been reported in areas with heavy cloud cover, similar to sightings in Tulsa or Moscow, where the blue light spread through the dull gray sky. It wasn't a fixed streak. It moved quietly, flowing along the folds of the clouds before gathering in the center. The sky seemed to open up a deeper dimension, leaving observers feeling both drawn in and held back. Looking closer, this blue wasn't like the familiar northern lights, since it showed up at latitudes far from the poles and didn't have those long, wavy patterns. The glow came from right inside the clouds, as if the clouds themselves were lighting up, pulsing and closing again. Many witnesses described a chilling feeling, not pure fear, but from the overwhelming quiet of the moment. Ezekiel 1:13 once described a similar scene when talking about living beings and blazing fire. As for the appearance of the living creatures, their appearance was like burning coals of fire, like the appearance of torches moving to and fro among the living creatures, and the fire was bright, and out of the fire went forth lightning. Those words don't explain it scientifically, but they offer a key to understanding that the strange light isn't just a phenomenon, it's a sign with deeper meaning. In that mysterious scene, Revelation 4-5 goes on to paint a picture of light tied to a holy presence. From the throne came flashes of lightning and rumblings and peals of thunder. The blue glow among the gray clouds is no longer just a mystery. It becomes a signal, a language of light for those quiet enough to notice. Some people doubt it, saying it's only city lights refracting or a rare atmospheric event. But those explanations still leave the biggest question unanswered. Why did the light appear at just the right time, in just the right way, and leave such a deep awakening in those who saw it? If earlier signs were loud and powerful, this blue glow feels like the final whisper. It doesn't force or threaten. It simply invites people to look up, reflect, and turn back to the true light. And maybe, in that quiet moment, each person knows deep down what to offer from their heart, like a silent prayer before the sky closes again. 10 signs have appeared one after another, not scattered or random, but linked together like a tight chain. From strange sounds in the sky, to changes in nature, to unusual lights in thick clouds, all of it flows together, pulling our thoughts beyond simple curiosity. When we put them side by side, the picture that comes out isn't just separate events anymore. It's a clear series of reminders. When we look at these events in the light of the Bible, the connection is hard to deny. Matthew 24:6-7 warned long ago, "You will hear of wars and rumors of wars. Nation will rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. There will be famines and earthquakes in various places." Those words aren't meant to scare us. They're meant to wake us up to what's happening right in front of us. Revelation 3:20 keeps speaking like a gentle but unmistakable whisper. "Behold, I stand at the door and knock. If anyone hears my voice and opens the door, I will come into him." These signs aren't a final judgment that shuts the door on hope. They're a steady knocking, showing there's still time to open it if we're willing to listen. We're living in a time when being busy and doubtful can easily put our hearts to sleep. But everything shared here isn't about arguing who's right or wrong. It's a call to wake up inside. Wake up to look at ourselves again, turn away from the wrong paths we've taken, and find again that spiritual connection we've forgotten for too long. Joel 2:12 says it plainly, "Yet even now, declares the Lord, return to me with all your heart, with fasting, with weeping, and with mourning." This isn't a message of hopelessness. It's the open way back, where hearts can be healed before every door closes for good. If these signs have touched something deep inside, we can pause for a moment, say a quiet prayer, or share our thoughts as a way of standing firm in faith. Every word spoken, every reflection written down, is a small but honest step on the journey back to the light. Spreading this message isn't about causing worry. It's so no one has to face the next signs alone. When we share, watch, and walk together, every message passed on carries the hope that someone is still listening. Finally, thank you from the bottom of my heart to everyone who's come this far on the journey. May peace cover us and our families, so that even when the world out there is full of upheaval, our hearts still have a place to rest. And then, in that quiet, the question still hangs in the air. After all we've seen, where will the next sign lead humanity? Amen.
Green, there's that flag you were talking about being burned here. What kind of things are they shouting, the crowd that's out there?
What's really unfolding in these early days of 2026, when the world hasn't even had a chance to catch its breath before getting pulled into a spiral with no way out. In just a short time, prayers ring out in the heart of America's capital. The Patagonia forests burn fiercely. Strange shapes appear in the sky. Holy statues rise up from the ground. Lake surfaces crack open. Streets sink into riots. Tornadoes roar like trumpets. The sun swells up unusually big. Fire whirlwinds stand tall in the desert, and glowing clouds drop so low it's hard to breathe. Do you feel that fear spreading as these events stop standing alone and start pushing against each other like a chain reaction? Those 10 signs aren't making noise on their own anymore. They're piling on top of one another, squeezing the present and making the future look dark and uncertain. But this is only the opening part of a picture that's slowly coming into view. Keep scrolling down to see more clearly what's being laid out ahead. And if you still hold a hope for peace in your heart, leave a prayer below for this shaking world. Now, let's get started right away with the first event. Trump organizes a massive prayer event for believers to pray for peace in America in 2026. Night settled over the National Mall in an unusual quiet, where the lights weren't just for illumination anymore, but to hold onto that solemn feeling. Under the shadow of the Lincoln Memorial, long rows of people knelt down, their hymns rising slowly, blending into the cold, early year wind like an old ritual waking up in modern times. In that moment, you could really feel a rare kind of calm when the worries of the day stepped aside for a deep hope of being protected. The America Prays event, held right in the heart of Washington, D.C., stood out not just for its size, but for how it brought strangers together in the same rhythm. Major religious groups were there side by side, rows of American flags standing still in the breeze. And on stage, Donald Trump appeared with a call to turn to Jesus as a spiritual anchor, not shouting, not declaring, just stressing the need for unity and faith. Laser lights drew a cross almost 500 feet long across the night sky, creating a sacred feeling that hushed the crowd before they all joined in song. In that space, the Bible came up gently, more as a suggestion than a firm point. Matthew 18:20 says, "For where 2 or 3 gather in my name, there am I with them." Those words echoed not to explain the event, but to light up what was happening. A strength coming not from one person, but from people united in the same belief. As the shared emotion built, the faces turned toward the stage no longer showed differences in politics or background. There was just the sense of standing together in a big spiritual circle. Joel 2:28 was mentioned again, like a whisper through the crowd. "And afterward, I will pour out my spirit on all people. Your sons and daughters will prophesy." The scripture felt like a bridge here, hinting that shared faith could offer comfort in uncertain times. It all ended in a heavy silence, with nobody rushing to leave, as if waiting for some sign that hadn't come yet. That prayer gathering hung between hope and worry, like a lighthouse shining in rough seas, but no one could be sure if the ship would reach safe harbor. That quiet pause opens the door to the rest of the story, where each next event will slowly answer whether the light that just flared up is the start of a revival or just a quick flash before a bigger storm. Blazing fires in Patagonia's forests can't be put out because of environmental cuts. The fire started without warning, swallowing up the old-growth forests of Patagonia, like the ground itself opened up and spat out hell. Thick black smoke rose straight into the sky, blocking out the sun for miles around and turning daytime into a long, eerie dusk. The crackling pops of dry trees burning mixed with desperate cries for help from isolated communities. The scale of this disaster is overwhelming, turning personal fear into something everyone shares. According to reports from mainstream news sites, more than 700 people in Argentina's Patagonia region had to be evacuated in a hurry, and at least 20 homes were burned down in a short time. The fires have spread over thousands of acres, while local firefighting teams are badly short on people and equipment after environmental budgets were cut by 81% recently. Looking at those cold numbers, it's hard not to feel like this isn't just an accident. It's the result of choices made over many years. Environmental experts say cutting back on forest protection funds and fire prevention spending has left Patagonia's ecosystems extremely vulnerable. Strong winds blowing through dry valleys turned the flames into walls nearly 100 feet high. Wild animals panicked and fled, leaving behind bare forests and air thick with poisonous smoke. Amos 4:7 once wrote, "I withheld rain from one city while I made it rain on another." And those words ring out like an accusation, pointing to the imbalance people have caused and the disaster now pouring down. In deeper analyses, scientists warn that the damage won't stop with what's burning right now. Burned forest land will lose its ability to hold water, raising the risk of flash floods in the coming rainy seasons and disrupting the livelihoods of thousands of families who depend on the forests. Revelation 8-7 describes, "The first angel sounded his trumpet, and there came hail and fire mixed with blood hurled down on the earth," and that image doesn't feel far off anymore, as fire and smoke have become familiar signs of a planet pushed to its limits. Skeptics call this disaster a natural event that's hard to avoid, but the data on budget cuts, weakened environmental protections, and slow responses paint a different picture. The Patagonia fires are like a warning written in smoke and ash, reminding us that every decision today leaves lasting marks on the land and climate. And with the first flames not even out yet, the big question hanging in the air is whether this is just a local tragedy or the spark for a wider wave of destruction across South America. Those mysterious eyes in the sky. The sky suddenly tore open like a thin curtain, revealing a shape that stopped people in their tracks. The layers of clouds formed a huge eye, wide open and still, hanging right overhead. The first feeling wasn't fear, but a breathtaking wonder, like something hidden had just been uncovered. Have you ever wondered, if the sky could look down on us, what it would see? This sight didn't show up in just one place. From the cold lands of Northern Europe to the misty valleys of Wales, social media was flooded with similar videos, spreading fast like wildfire. Pink and blue colors glowed around the pupil, forming a perfect ring of light that was hard to believe. The timing and shape being so similar made many folks feel it was more than just chance. From the video shared, the eye was miles across, stayed put for a few minutes, then vanished all at once, as if it had never been there. No official word from experts, just quiet comments from viewers describing the sense of being watched from above. In that moment, the uncertainty turned into a chill, because no one knew for sure what they'd just seen. Psalm 34:15 says, "The eyes of the Lord are on the righteous, and his ears are attentive to their cry." Those old words suddenly rang out in today's world, like a key unlocking some deeper meaning. When the shape in the sky looked like such a perfect eye, a lot of people stopped seeing it as just a trick of the clouds. Debates exploded all over online forums. Some believe it's a holy sign, a stern gaze piercing through the world, reminding us of things we're trying to hide. Others push back, saying it's just a light effect in the atmosphere, rare, but still natural. The two sides clash hard, with neither backing down. Revelation 1-7 says, "Look, he is coming with the clouds, and every eye will see him." For many, that verse isn't some distant symbol anymore. It feels like it's happening right in front of them. They think that gaze in the sky isn't there to enjoy the view, but to watch what's going on down here. Between belief and doubt, one thing still hangs in the air. That feeling of being watched hasn't gone away. If those eyes really appeared as a reminder, what's coming next? And what do you think? Is it just random clouds? Or a quiet gaze counting down the time we have left? Archaeologists uncover the upper body of a giant statue of Jesus. The excavation started quietly, no fanfare, no hint of what was coming. Layer by layer, the dirt and rock were peeled away until a familiar shape slowly emerged, solemn and slow. The air grew heavy, as if the past was speaking for itself. Sometimes silence says more than any words ever could. From deep in the ground came the upper part of a huge statue, arms spread wide. The stone eyes looked down, not angry, not blaming, just carrying a quiet sadness that's hard to name. Anyone standing there couldn't help but pause a little longer, feeling something deeper than ordinary archaeology. Do you ever get that gentle but deep touch in moments like this? In Encantado, Brazil, the statue, about 140 feet tall, was lifted from the earth after being buried for so long. Its arm span is close to 92 feet, and as the stone was cleaned, every detail came back clear, shining like it had just been carved. Lately, social media has been sharing a story. This statue reminds people of sacred figures that have appeared in different places around the world, like pieces of a memory that never really went away. When people look into those thoughtful eyes, many say they feel a slow wave of reflection. Not fear, just a quiet questioning, like being invited to look at themselves. How can a stone gaze feel so moving? And why does this image show up right now? Isaiah 53:3 adds a deeper layer. He was despised and rejected by mankind, a man of suffering. The verse feels like a gentle suggestion, nothing forced. That sadness in the stone eyes suddenly looks like forgotten love, understanding that's quiet but lasting. Once placed in the church, the statue is more than an old relic. It stands there silently, arms open but not grasping, as if waiting for people to come on their own. Have you ever wondered why open arms can comfort you and still leave a soft ache in your heart? John 3:16 closes with a lingering echo. For God so loved the world that he gave his one and only Son. The love spoken of isn't loud. It comes with sacrifice and pain. Maybe that's why the statue isn't complete yet, still unfinished, like an open question left for all of us. If one day the rest of the statue is found,